Okay, guys, so to start this worksheet on volume of sphere, you're going to need to know what the formula for volume is. And so, just as a reminder, you will be able to find that on your handy dandy little reference material guide whenever you are being taking an assessment on volume of sphere. So the equation will always be there. But for the record, it is this. You're going to write V equals 4/3 pi r and cubed. Now, a couple things you need to know or remember that pi equals 3.14, and on your calculator, pi is right down here to the left of h. That's where pi is. Also, you're going to need to remember that little r equals radius. That's a callback from 5th through 7th grade. Radius is from the center of a circle to the outside edge. Okay, that's the smallest line that we use to measure a circle. We can use the line that is the outside border, that's the circumference. The line from one side of the border to the other, that's the diameter. And the radius then is simply from the middle of the circle to the outside edge. So for each one of these, I want you to start by writing the formula. And just to be clear, on your assessment, very few times will the answer choices be simply the volume. For volume of a sphere, and most of the volume questions on the star that have the questions that have been released, they are different steps in the solving of the equation for an individual sphere. So V equals, the first thing I'm going to do is write the equation. V equals 4/3 pi r cubed. And I'm going to need to bring in the information here that I've been given. Now, the only thing that I'm really going to pull from is I'm going to pull the radius into the equation. One of the things that I want to be sure that you remember, it's fair game that I can give you the diameter, which is from one side to the other. In this case, that would be 18. Okay? So if you're given the diameter, you're going to have to cut that in half to get to the radius. The tools that you need is you need to remember where the pi is on your calculator. You need to remember that r stands for radius, and that radius is from the center of the circle to the outside edge. So in this case, let's go ahead and label it r equals 9. I'm going to substitute 9 for r, and I'm going to cube that because that's what the equation calls for. I'm going to multiply that times pi, and I'm going to multiply all that times 4 divided by 3. Now, as I was talking earlier, this is very much fair game. Most of the answer choices that I've seen on the star are in this step right here. Okay, this step or the next step, and that is something like this. If I take 9 cubed in my calculator, remember, cubed is right here. I'm sorry, to get cubed, you're going to hit the caret button right here. You're going to use the caret button right here and tell it to 3. So the way I would get 9 to the 3rd power is I would hit the 9 button, and then I would hit this little house top right here. It's called the caret button. It's just to the left of the x squared. So I need to say, okay, to the power of what? Well, to the power of 3. So here's my 9 cubed. It hit enter, and that tells me that's 729. Okay. So another fair game answer choice is 4/3 times pi times 729. Now finally, you're going to go ahead and take that 729 and you're going to multiply that times the pi button and times 4 divided by 3. So I'm going to take the 729, I'm going to multiply that times this pi button down here, right next to the H. Hit that. And it says, which one do you want? I want pi. Enter. And I want to multiply that times a fraction. And to get fraction, I'm going to come in here and hit this little fraction key right here. Right where my pencil is. See this little square over square says, do you want a fraction? I'm going to say yes, I want a fraction. Hit enter to that. And my numerator is 4. My denominator, like page down, is 3. And that's it. It's going to give me the answer is 3053.63. Okay, so I can put a block around that. Actually, let's call this units cubed, or cubed units, because we are talking about volume, and volume is three-dimensional. Okay, that's why this little 3 is down here. Just remember that. Let's do one more. So now I can see my radius here is 6.3. I don't have a diameter, so I don't need to do anything to determine my radius. It's given to me. First, I'm going to write the equation. 4/3 times pi times the radius cubed is going to give me the cubic units that fills up this particular circle if 6.3 is how far it is from the center of it to the outside edge. Since my radius is 6.3, I'm going to come in here and put 6.3 cubed, multiply that times pi, multiply that times 4/3. And remember, this is absolutely fair game in terms of an answer choice on the star. So to get 6.3 cubed, I'm going to type in 6.3, and I'm going to use this caret button right over here to the left of x squared, and say I want to make this, put this to the power of 3, that is to multiply it times itself 3 times. Again, fair answer choice. The next step would be 4/3 times pi times 250.047. And then the final and fourth step is then to simply take this radius squared amount, which is 250 and some change, multiply that times the pi button down here, and multiply all of that times, multiply, times a fraction, which is right here to the right of that 9, this little button right there. I'm going to need to engage that and say, yep, I want a fraction. And that fraction is going to be, my numerator is 4 and my denominator is 3. Here I'm taking the 250, which is my radius cubed, multiply that times 5 times 4/3, and I'm going to get 1,047.39. Now this is, and that's units cubed. Now, this is the final answer, but I want you to be clear. We're going to check each one of these steps because each one of these steps is an answer choice on the star. Okay? So be detailed and intentional about your solving each one of these. For the next one, number 5, the first thing you're going to do is write the formula, 4/3 pi r cubed. Remember, r is the radius from the center of the circle to the outside edge. If I give you the diameter, you're going to cut that in half. Okay? So here I'm given the diameter is 7.5. cubed. I could multiply that times pi times 4/3. That's the second step. And a fair answer choice. This was the answer choice last year on the star, was this step right here. 2 years ago, it was the next step. So I need to take 7.5. Let's put that in the calculator. 7.5. Let's practice one more time. 7.5. To take that to the third power or cube it, I'm going to use this caret button right here and say I want it to the third power. And that gives me a total of 421.875. So that comes down here. 7.5 cubed then is 421.875. I multiply that times pi, and times 4 divided by 3 is the next step, and that's a fair answer choice as well. You need to understand what's happening through these 4 steps. Very few times, but sometimes you will get, hey, what is the total volume? So in order to find that, I'm going to take the 421.875. I'm going to multiply that times pi, which is right here in the bottom left-hand corner, and multiply that times a fraction. So you can use my little fraction button right here. Yep. And I want my numerator to be 4, my denominator to be 3, and bam. So the answer to number 5 is 1,767.15. units cubed. So go ahead and do the same thing for these 3 on the back. Show all 4 steps and be intentional about understanding which step is which and how that could be an answer choice. Raise your hand if you have any questions and I'll bring you up. I will answer them individually. Good job.